viewers, and welcome to another chapter of reading. So let's get started, shall we? Chapter 7, The Ministry of Magic. Harry awoke at 5:30 the next morning as abruptly and completely as if somebody had yelled in his ear. Ow. That would be overwhelming for me. For a few moments he lay immobile as the prospect of the hearing filled every tiny particle of his brain. Then, unable to bear it, he leapt out of bed and put on his glasses. Mrs. Weasley had laid out his freshly laundered jeans and t-shirt at the foot of his bed. You know how I feel about jeans by now, I hope. Harry scrambled into them. The blank picture on the wall snickered again. Ron was laying sprawled on his back with his mouth wide open, fast asleep. He did not stir as Harry crossed the room, stepped onto the landing, and closed the door softly behind him. I guess, like Harry, I'm still a little tired myself. Try not to think of the next time he would see Ron, when they might no longer be fellow students at Hogwarts. Harry walked quietly down the stairs, past the heads of Creature's ancestors, and into the kitchen. He had expected it to be empty, but it was not. When he reached the door, he heard the soft rumble of voices on the other side, and when he pushed it open, he saw Mr. and Mrs. Weasley, Sirius, Lupin, and Tonks sitting there as though they were waiting for him. All were dressed fully except Mrs. Weasley, who was wearing a quilted purple dressing gown. Well, that would be pretty. She leapt to her feet the moment he entered. "Breakfast," she said as she pulled out her wand and hurried over the fire. "Morning, Harry," yawned Tonks. Her hair was blonde and curly this morning. Oh, I love curls. I really do. I also like blondes. I also have it available. Gosh, I must be channeling my Tonks more or less. Anyhow, I guess, I have an affinity for blondes too. I don't know. Maybe. Moving on. Sleep all right? Yeah, said Harry. I've been up all night, she said with another shuddering yawn. Sleep all right? Yeah. Oh wait, I just read that. Ugh. I can tell what kind of day this is gonna be. I'm sorry. This is what I should have read. She drew out a chair, knocking over the one beside it in the process. What do you want, Harry? Mrs. Weasley called. Porridge, muffins, kippers, bacon and eggs, toast. Just toast, thanks, said Harry. Well, Harry, let's have some toast together, shall we? Moving on. Lupin glanced at Harry, then turned to Tonks. What were you saying about Gryffindor? Aim foreshadowing. Oh, oh. Well, we need to be a bit more careful. He's been asking Kingsley and I funny questions. Harry felt vaguely grateful that he was not required to join in the conversation. His insides were squirming. Mrs. Weasley placed a couple pieces of toast and marmalade in front of him. I had butter on my toast. He tried to eat, but it was like chewing carpet. Don't worry, mine wasn't. But now that I think about it, I'm a little worried about what carpet actually tastes like. Mrs. Weasley sat down on his other side and started fussing with his t-shirt, tucking in the label and smoothing out creases across the shoulders. He wished she wouldn't. And now I have to tell Dumbledore I can't do night duty tomorrow. I'm just too tired. Tonks finished, yawning hugely again. I'll cover for you, said Mr. Weasley. I'm okay. I've got a report to finish anyway. Mrs. Weasley was not wearing wizard's robes, but a pair of pinstriped trousers and an old bomber jacket. He turned from Tonks to Harry. How are you feeling? Harry shrugged. It'll all be over soon, Mr. Weasley said brazenly. In a few hours' time, you'll be cleared. Harry said nothing. The hearing's on my phone, in Amelia Bones's office. That name should be familiar to you. Largely because she's Susan's mother. She's head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, and she's the one who'll be questioning you. Amelia Bones is okay, Harry, said Tonks earnestly. She's fair. She'll hear you out. Harry nodded, still unable to think of anything to say. Don't lose your temper, said Sirius abruptly. Be polite and stick to the facts. Harry nodded again. Then also your side, said Lupin quietly. Even underage wizards are allowed to use magic in life-threatening situations. Something very cold trickled down the back of Harry's neck. For a moment he thought someone was putting a disillusionment charm on him again. Then he realized that Mrs. Weasley was attacking his hair with a wet comb. She pressed hard on the top of his head. Isn't it ever lie flat? She said desperately. Harry shook his head. Oh, those Potter genes. Gotta love them. Mr. Weasley checked his watch and looked up at Harry. I think we'll go now, he said. We're a bit early, but I think you'll be better off here than hanging around here. Okay, said Harry automatically, dropping his toast and getting to his feet. You'll be all right, Harry, said Tonks, patting him on the arm. Good luck, said Lupin. I'm sure it'll be fine. And if it's not, said Sirius grimly, I'll see to Amelia Bones for you. Harry smiled weakly. Mrs. Weasley hugged him. Consider this a hug. We've got all our fingers crossed. There. All of my fingers are crossed. Right, said Harry. Well, see you later then. He followed Mr. Weasley upstairs and along the hall. He could hear Sirius's mother grunting in her sleep behind her curtains. Mr. Weasley unbolted the door, and they stepped out into the cold, gray dawn. You don't normally walk to work, do you? Harry asked him as they set off briskly around the square. No, I usually operate, said Mr. Weasley, but obviously you can. I think it's best we arrive in a thoroughly non-magical fashion. Makes a better impression, given what you're being disciplined for. Mr. Weasley kept his hand inside his jacket as they walked. Harry knew it was clenched around his wand. The rundown streets were almost deserted, but when they arrived at the miserable little underground station, they found it full of early morning commuters. As ever, when he found himself in close proximity to Muggles going about their daily business, Mr. Weasley was hard to contain his enthusiasm. Simply fabulous, he whispered, indicating the automatic ticket machines. Wonderfully ingenious. They're out of order, said Harry, pointing at the sign. Yes, but even so, said Mr. Weasley beaming fondly at them. They bought tickets instead from a sleepy-looking guard. Harry handled the transaction as Mr. Weasley was not very good with Muggle money. Yeah, I don't expect him to be acquainted with pounds. And no, I don't mean the weight. I mean pound sterlings. That's the British currency. Personally, I would like to wield some pound sterlings soon. That would be nice. Moving forth. And 5 minutes later, they were boarding an underground train that rattled them off toward the center of London. Mr. Weasley kept anxiously checking and rechecking the underground map above the windows. 4 stops, Harry. 3 stops left now. 2 stops to go, Harry. They got off at a train station in the very heart of London. Swept from the train in a tide of besuited men and women carrying briefcases. Up the escalator they went, through the ticket barrier. Mr. Weasley, delighted with the way the style swallowed his ticket, and emerged onto a broad street lined with imposing-looking buildings, already full of traffic. Well, it is the heart of London. Expected to get busy. Where are we? Said Mr. Weasley blankly, and for one hard-stopping moment, Harry thought they had gone off at the wrong station, despite Mr. Weasley's continual references to the map. But a second later he said, "Oh, yes, this way, Harry," and led him down the side road. "Sorry," he said, "but I never come by train, and it all looks rather different from a Muggle's perspective. As a matter of fact, I've never even used the visitor's entrance before." The farther they walked, the smaller and less imposing the buildings became, until they finally reached a street containing several rather shabby-looking offices, a pub, and an overflowing dumpster. Harry had expected a rather more impressive location for the Ministry of Magic. Oh, Harry, just you wait. Here we are, said Mr. Weasley brightly, pointing at an old red telephone box. Oh, I love those telephone boxes. Never used one, though. Which was missing several panes of glass and stood before a heavily graffitied wall. After you, Harry. He opened the telephone box door. Harry stepped inside, wondering what on earth this was about. Mr. Weasley folded himself in beside Harry and closed the door. It was a tight fit. Harry was jammed against the telephone apparatus, which was hanging crookedly from the wall, though a vandal had tried to rip it off. Mr. Weasley reached past Harry for the receiver. Mr. Weasley, I think this might be out of order too, Harry said. No, I'm sure it's fine, said Mr. Weasley, holding the receiver above his head and peering at the dial. Let's see. 6. He dialed the number. 2, 4, and another 4, and another 2. And for those of you who are unaware, and I love the genius of this, I like the film better because of 6. Yeah, I love this because, look, I don't know if you can see it or not. Use those to help you figure it out. Need help? MAGIC. That is magic on a telephone keypad. Ingenious of J.K. Rowling, is it not? Moving forward. As the dial worked smoothly back into place, the cool female voice sounded inside the telephone box, but not from the receiver in Mr. Weasley's hand, but as loudly and plainly as though an invisible woman were standing right beside them. Welcome to the Ministry of Magic. Please state your name and business. Said Mr. Weasley, clearly uncertain whether he should talk into the receiver or not. He comprised by holding the mouthpiece to his ear. Arthur Weasley, misuse of Muggle Artifacts Office, here to escort Harry Potter, who has been asked to attend a disciplinary hearing. Thank you, said the cool female voice. Visitor, please take the badge and attach it to the front of your robes. There was a click and a rattle. Then Harry saw something slide out of the metal chute where return coins usually appeared. He picked it up. It was a square silver badge with Harry Potter Disciplinary Hearing on it. He pinned it to the front of his t-shirt as the female voice spoke again. Minister to the Ministry, you are required to submit a search and present your wanted registration at the security desk, which is located at the far end of the entry. Before the telephone box shuttered, they were sinking slowly into the ground. Harry watched apprehensively as the pavement rose up past the glass windows and telephone box until darkness closed over their heads. Then he could see nothing at all. He could only hear a dull grinding noise as the telephone box made its way down through the earth. After about a minute, though it felt much longer to Harry. Yeah, it would probably feel longer to me too. A chink of golden light illuminated his feet, and widening, rose up his body until it hit him in the face. Ow. And he had to blink to stop his eyes from watering. The Ministry of Magic wishes you a pleasant day, said the woman's voice. The door of the telephone box sprang open, and Mr. Weasley stepped out of it, followed by Harry, whose mouth had fallen open. They were standing at one end of a very long and splendid hall with a highly polished dark wood floor. The peacock blue ceiling was inlaid with gleaming golden symbols that were continually moving and changing like some enormous heavenly notice board. The walls on each side were... Oh wait, I just read that. Sorry. No, I didn't read it. The walls on each side were paneled in shiny dark wood and had many gilded fireplaces set into them. Every few seconds, a witch or wizard would emerge from the left-hand fireplaces with a soft whoosh on the right-hand side. Short queues of wizards were forming before each fireplace, waiting to depart. Fireplaces come important later. Halfway down the hall was the fountain. A group of golden statues, larger than life-size, stood in the middle of the circular pool. Tallest of them all was a noble-looking wizard with his wand pointing straight up in the air. Grouped around him were a beautiful witch, a centaur, a goblin, and a house elf. The last three were all looking adoringly up at the witch and wizard. Glittering jets of water were flying from the ends of the two wands. The point of the centaur's arrow, the tip of the goblin's hat, and each of the house elf's ears, so that the tinkling hiss of falling water was added to the pops and cracks of apparatus, and the clatter of footsteps as hundreds of witches and wizards, most of whom were wearing glum early morning looks. Well, yeah, morning's not my best friend either. Strode to a set of golden gates at the far end of the hall. This way, said Mr. Weasley. They joined the throng, wending their way between the ministry workers, some of whom were carrying tottering piles of parchment, others battered briefcases, others still reading the Daily Prophet as they walked. As they passed the fountain, Harry saw silver sickles and bronze nuts glinting up at him from the bottom of the pool. A small smudged sign beside it read, "All proceeds from the Fountain of Magical Fortune will be given to St. Mungo's Hospital for magical maladies and injuries." Foreshadowing! If I'm not expelled from Hogwarts, I'll put in 10 galleons. Harry found himself thinking desperately. Oh, Harry, I'd put in 10 galleons anyway. Better yet, I would do 30. What? Generosity is a core value of mine. Over here, Harry, said Mr. Weasley, and they stepped out of the stream of ministry employees headed for the golden gates, toward a desk on the left, over which hung a sign saying "Security." A badly shaven wizard in peacock blue robes looked up as they approached and put down his Daily Prophet. "I'm escorting a visitor," said Mr. Weasley, gesturing toward Harry. "Step over here," said the wizard in a bored voice. I hope that sounded bored to you. Harry walked closer to him, and the wizard held up a long golden rod, thin and flexible as a car aerial. and passed it up and down Harry's front and back. Wand, grunted the security wizard at Harry, putting down the golden instrument and holding out his hand. Harry produced his wand. The wizard dropped it onto a strange brass instrument, which looked something like a set of scales with only one bit. It began to vibrate. A narrow strip of parchment came leading out of a slit in the base. The wizard tore this off and read the writing upon it. 11 inches, Phoenix feather core, been in yours 4 years. Is that correct? Yes, said Harry nervously. I keep this, said the wizard, impaling the slip of parchment on a small brass spike. You get this back. He added, thrusting the wand at Harry. Thank you. Hang on, said the wizard slowly. His eyes had darted from the silver visitor's badge on Harry's chest and to his forehead. Thank you, Eric, said Mr. Weasley firmly, and grasping Harry by the shoulder, he steered him away from the desk and back into the stream of wizards and witches walking through the golden gates. Jostled slightly by the crowd, Harry followed Mr. Weasley through the gates into a smaller hall just beyond, where at least 20 lifts stood behind wrought golden grills. For those who don't know, lifts are basically elevators. I'm just trying to help you understand, and it could be confusing if you don't know. So I'm explaining that for those who don't know, lifts are elevators. So again, lifts are elevators. Harry and Mr. Weasley joined the crowd around him. The big bearded wizard was holding a large cardboard box stood nearby. Oh, I love cardboard boxes. You can make anything out of them. I remember this one time when I was 8, I took a cardboard box and I fashioned an airplane out of it. It was fun. I even put a couple of my dolls in it. Fun times. The box was emitting rasping noises. Okay, I'm gonna try. I hope that works. All right, Arthur, said the wizard, nodding at Mr. Weasley. What have you got there, Bob? Asked Mr. Weasley, looking at the box. I'm not sure, said the wizard seriously. He thought it was a dog-standard chicken until it started breathing fire. Looks like a serious breach of the ban on experimental breathing to me. With a great jangling and clattering, the lift descended in front of him. The golden girl slid back, and Harry. The golden girl slid back. Ugh. I'm just gonna restart this part, okay? With a great jangling and clattering, a lift descended in front of him. The golden girl slid back, letting Harry and Mr. Weasley moving inside of it with the rest of the crowd. Harry found himself jammed against the back wall of the lift. Several witches and wizards were looking at him curiously. He stared at his feet to avoid catching anyone's eye, flattening his fringe as he did so. Fringe are basically bangs. And, well, I have bangs. Or fringe. See? The girl slid shut with a crash, and the lift ascended slowly. Chains rattling all the while. The same full female voice heard and the telephone box ran out again. Level 7. Level 7. Department of Magical Games and Sports, incorporating the British and Irish Quidditch League headquarters, official gobstones club, and ludicrous patents office. The lift doors open. Harry glimpsed an untidy-looking corridor with various posters of Quidditch teams tacked lopsidedly on the walls. One of the wizards in the lift was carrying an armful of broomsticks, extricated himself with difficulty, and disappeared down the corridor. The doors closed, the lift juddered upward again, and the woman's voice said, Level 6. Department of Magical Transport, incorporating the Food Network Authority, Room Regulatory Control, Port Key Office, and Operation Test Center. Once again, the lift doors opened and 4 or 5 witches and wizards got out. At the same time, several paper airplanes swooped into the lift. Harry stared at them and they flapped idly around above his head. They were pale violet color. Ooh, I love pale violet. I literally have a dress that's like that color, and it is beautiful. And he could see Ministry of Magic stamped along the edges of the wings. Just enter departure memos. Mr. Weasley muttered to him. We used to use Alice, but the mess was unbelievable. Droppings all over the desk. Yeah, I can see how the owls would be unbelievable. Entering the department hastily. But it's good he found a way to prevent that from happening again. A plus, Ministry of Magic. As they clattered upward again, the memos flapped around the swaying lamp in the lift ceiling. Level 5. Department of International Magic Corporation, incorporating the International Magic Training Standards Body, the International Magical Office of Law, and the International Confederation of British Seeds. When the doors opened, two of the memos zoomed out with a few more witches and wizards, but several more members zoomed in, so that the light from the lamp and the ceiling flickered and flashed as they darted around it. Level 4. Department for the Regulation and Control of Magic Creatures, incorporating Beast, Fiend, and Spirit Divisions, Goblin Liaison Office, and Pest Advisory Bureau. Skills, said the wizard, carrying the fire-breathing chicken who led the lift pushing by the pocket memos. The doors clanged shut yet again. Level 3. Department of Magical Accidents and Catastrophes, including the Accidental Magic Reversal Squad, Obliviator Headquarters, and Muggleworthy Excuse Committee. Wonder how that would come in handy. Oh, wait. Yeah. Yes. This is probably what happens with Aunt Marge. They had to have some people from that department. What do you think? Everybody left the lift on the floor except Mr. Weasley, Harry, and the witch who was reading an extremely long piece of parchment that was thrown to the ground. Related to Hermione, maybe? Not literally, but it's just the idea that gives me Hermione vibes, and I'm just like, A glimpse of Hermione into the future, maybe? Moving forth. The remaining members continued to soar around the lamp as the lift juddered upward again. Then the doors opened and the voice said, Level 2, Department of Magical Law Enforcement, including in the improper use of magic office or headquarters and wisdom and administration services. This is us, Harry, said Mrs. Weasley, and they followed the witch out of the lift into a corridor lined with doors. My office is on the other side of the door. Mr. Weasley, said Harry as they passed a window through which sunlight was streaming. Aren't we underground? Yes, we are, said Mr. Weasley. Those are enchanted windows. The magical matons decide what weather we're getting every day. We had 2 months of hurricanes last time they were angling for a pay raise. Just around here, Dad. Seems like the magical maintenance is the magical meteorology section. Which can be quite deadly, if Elsa can be any indication. Moving forth. They turned a corner, walked through a pair of heavy oak doors, and emerged in a cluttered open area divided into cubicles, which were buzzing with talk and laughter. Members were in and out of cubicles like miniature rockets, alongside the sign on the nearest cubicle read for headquarters. Harry looked surreptitiously through the doorways as they passed. Yours had covered their cubicle walls with everything from pictures of wanted wizards and photographs of their families to posters of their favorite Quidditch teams and articles from the Daily Prophet. The scarlet-robed man with a ponytail longer than Bill's. Well, I may not be a man, but I definitely have a ponytail longer than Bill's. Was sitting with his boots up on his desk, dictating a report to his clerk. And go farther on, the witch with a patch over her eyes was talking over the top of the cubicle wall to Kingsley Shacklebolt. Morning, Weasley, said Kingsley carelessly as they drew near. I've been wanting a word with you. Just a second. Yes, if it really is a second, said Mr. Weasley. I'm in rather a hurry. They were talking to each other as though they hardly knew each other. And when Harry opened his mouth to say hello to Kingsley, Mr. Weasley stood on his foot. Ow. They followed Kingsley along the lawn into the very last cubicle. Harry received a slight shock. Sirius's face was blinking down at him in every direction. Newspaper cuttings and old photographs, even the one of Sirius being the best man at the Potter's wedding, papered the walls. The only Sirius free space was a map of the world in which little red pins were glowing like jewels. Here, said Kingsley grotesquely to Mr. Weasley, shoving a sheet of parchment into his hand. I need as much information as possible. Blind Muggle was decided in the last 12 months. It would received information that Buxton might be able to remove them. Kingsley tipped Harry an enormous flink and added in a whisper, Give him the magazine. He might find it interesting. Then he said in normal tones, And don't take up too long, Lucy. The delay on that Firelegs report held our investigation up for months. If If you have heard of my report, you would know that the term is fire only, said Mr. Weasley. And I'm afraid you'll have to wait for information on motorcycles. They're extremely busy applications. He dropped his voice and said, "You can get away with your salad, always making meatballs." I love a good meatball. He beckoned to Harry and let him out of Kingsley's cubicle through a second set of oak doors into another passage. Turned left. Marched along another corridor. Turned right into a dimly lit, distinctly shabby corridor, and finally reached a dead end, where a door on the left stood ajar, revealing a broom cupboard, and the door on the right bore a tarnished brass plaque reading "Misuse of Muggle Artifacts." Mr. Weasley's dingy office seemed to be slightly smaller than the broom cupboard. 2 desks had been crammed inside of it, and there was barely room to move around them because of all the overflowing filing cabinets lining the walls, on top of which were tottering piles of files. The little loft space available bore witness to Mr. Weasley's obsession. There were several hundreds of cars, including all of the engine. 2 illustrations of post boxes seemed to have cut out of Muggle children's books, and a diagram showing how to wire a plug. Oh, Mr. Weasley, we love your eccentricism. Sitting on top of Mr. Weasley's overflowing in-tray was an old toaster that was hiccuping in a disconsolate way, and a pair of empty leather gloves that were twiddling their thumbs. A photograph of the Weasley family stood beside the in-tray. Harry noticed that person appeared to have left out of it. That's kind of a little peculiar to mirror his family, isn't it? "We haven't got a window," said Mr. Weasley apologetically, taking off his bomber jacket and placing it onto the back of his chair. "We've asked, but they don't seem to think we need one. Have a seat, Harry. It doesn't look as if Perkins is in yet." Harry squeezed himself into the chair behind Perkins' desk while Mr. Weasley rifled through the sheets of parchment he was stackable and given. He said, grinning, as he extracted a copy of a magazine entitled "The Quibble" from its nest. Foreshadowing! Yes, he flicked through it. Yes, he's right. I'm sure Sirius will find that very amusing. Oh dear, what's this now? A memo had just zoomed in through the open door and fluttered to rest on top of the hiccuping toaster. Mr. Weasley unfolded it and read aloud. "Further pictures regurgitating public toilet reported in Bethnal Green. Kindly investigate immediately. This is getting ridiculous." That's funny. If you think about it, literal, that's funny and gross at the same time. A regurgitating toilet? "Anti-Muggle pranksters," said Mr. Weasley, frowning. "We had 2 last evening, one in Wimbledon, one in Elephant and Castle. Muggles are pulling the flesh, and instead of everything disappearing, well, you can imagine. The wolf-teeth things keep holding in those tumbles, I think they're called. You know, the ones who mend pipes and things. Plumbers? Exactly, yes. But of course they're plumbers. I hope we can catch whoever is doing it. Would it be orders who catch him? Oh no, this is too trivial for orders. It'll be the ordinary magical law enforcement patrol. Ah, Harry, this is Perkins. A stooped, timid-looking old wizard with fluffy white hair had just entered the room panting. Oh, what the? He said desperately without looking at her. Thank goodness. I didn't know what to do for the best, whether to wait here for you or I've just sent an out for your home, but you obviously missed it. An urgent message came 10 minutes ago. I know about the regurgitating toilet, said Mr. Weasley. No, it's not the toilet. It's the pressure boy's hearing. They changed the time and venue. It starts at 8 o'clock now, and it's down in our courtroom 10. I don't know, but they told me everything's scared. Mr. Weasley looked at his watch. Not wearing a watch, but just imagine. Let out a yell and leapt from his chair. Quick, Harry, we should have been there 5 minutes ago! Perkins flattened himself against the filing cabinets and Mr. Weasley left the office at a run. Harry wanted to see. Why haven't they changed the time? Harry said breathlessly as they hurtled past the cubicles. People poked out their heads and stared as they streaked past. Harry felt as though he had left all of his insides back at Perkins' desk. I have no idea, but thank goodness we got here so early. If we missed it, that would have been catastrophic. Mr. Weasley skidded to a halt beside the lifts and jabbed impatiently at the down button. I think all of us know what that's like. Come on! The lift clattered into view and they hurried inside. Every time it stopped, Mr. Weasley cursed furiously and pummeled the number 9 button. These courtrooms haven't been used in years, said Mr. Weasley. I can't think why they're doing it from here. No. But anyway. A pump which carried a smoking goblet entered the lift, and at that moment, Mr. Weasley did not elaborate. The atrium, the atrium, said the cool female voice, and the golden girl spun open, showing Harry a distinct glimpse of the golden statues in the fountain. The pump punch got out, and the solid-skinned wizard with a very mournful face got in. Morning, Arthur, he said in the spectral voices. The lift began to descend. So I can see you down here. Urgent business, Bode, said Mr. Weasley, who was pouncing on the balls of his feet and throwing anxious looks over at Harry. Yes, said Bode, surveying Harry unblinkingly. Of course. Harry barely had emotion to spare for Bode, but his unfaltering gaze did not make him feel any more comfortable. Department of Ministries, foreshadowing, said the cool female voice, and it looked back. Quick, Harry, said Mr. Weasley as the doors rattled open, and they sped up a corridor that was quite different than those above. The walls were bare, there were no evidence, there were no windows and no doors apart from a plain black one set at the very end of the corridor. Harry expected them to go through it, but Mr. Weasley seized him by the arm and dragged him to the left, where there was an opening leading to a flight of steps. Something tells me that door is going to be important later. Down here, panted Mr. Weasley, taking 2 steps at a time. It doesn't even come down this far. Why is doing it there? They reached the bottom of the steps and ran along yet another corridor, which bore a great resemblance to what Snape's dungeon at Hogwarts. with rough stone walls and torches and brackets. The doors they passed here were heavy wooden ones with iron bolts and keyholes. Courtroom 10. I think we're near the... Yes! Mr. Weasley stumbled to a halt outside a grimy dark door with an immense iron lock and slumped against the wall, clutching at a stitch of his chest. His hands were pointing for some at the door. Get in that! And keep coming with. No, not so loud. Good luck. Harry's heart was beating as violent passion against his Adam's apple. Being Fenneman, I lack an Adam's apple. But I can imagine how nerve-wracking this would be for Harry regardless, so. He swallowed hard, turned the heavy iron door handle, and stepped inside the courtroom. And that is the end of this chapter. Join me next week for Chapter 8, The Hearing. Until then, bye!